It is about you. You are the selling point, and the landscape is changing. So be your authentic self, because no one wants to go to work being miserable all day. Look at your own resume, look at your own LinkedIn, and look at your impact and what you have provided for that other company. And if you write things in that context, you're going to talk to the next employer.
In my opinion, it's about giving the customer what they really want and just blowing their mind once they get it. And that's what I really love to see, honestly.
Get people to do more of home cooking, home cooked meals, healthy meals, so we can all live long and happy.
I'm very proud to be a mom, because not for nothing, women are amazing.
Oh my God, the sacrifice, and how we make it look so easy.
I was just telling Joanne before we got on the call, I said, I had to run from my daughter's school. They had an Easter egg hunt. I said, all right, Mom, I gotta go to work. But, you know, just as moms, we make it happen, you know, supernatural abilities. We are the example for them, you know, and I know that with them being a better version of us.
You have to try. You never know how creative you are until you try. Because I didn't think I was creative. I found my creative side during a horrible time in my life.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy post-election day. I know everybody is still a little tense. I hope you're in a space now where we are moving a little past the idea that our 45 is now 47 for us. But anyway, welcome. Happy Thursday. My name is Athenia Rodney, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC. I am super excited to have you all with us on this Thursday. It is Lunch and Learn Thursdays. We are here and we have an amazing guest with us on today who's going to be helping us talk about fashion and style. So, you know, I had to go get my style. I had to get myself together because I couldn't be on here looking any kind of way. And we talk about fashion and style. But I hope I show up like this often and not that that is just for this session. So let me tell you a little bit about Elliot, who is our guest for today. He is a dynamic leader in fashion. He is in entertainment and he is a business owner. He's known for everlasting personal brands and his work in creative direction. So I am looking forward to him helping me to get my life together because I need me a whole person, you know, that can direct me on how my style is and just being consistent. So we're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to get into that. Elliot is passionate about using fashion for cultural impact and inclusivity. Now that's deep. Being able to use your gift, your God-given talents and gifts to share how to be more impactful in this world and how to be more inclusive at that. In today's session, the title is called Leading with Style, Impact on Fashion and Branding. Elliot will share his insights into the transformative power of fashion and branding. He will discuss his work in creative direction, brand strategy, and his commitment to inclusion. Elliot's dedication to using fashion as a platform of cultural impact and empowerment makes him an invaluable resource for today's discussion on the role of style in driving positive change. So we are going to welcome to the stage Mr. Elliot Carlyle. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I am great. I'm glad to have you with us on today. Please, Elliot, introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are and what you do.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. It is an honor and a privilege to be on the Juneteenth NYC Lunch and Learn series. I don't take it lightly to have an opportunity to share my voice at any given time, and the fact that you would take time out of your day to be here means a lot. So thank you to you, the entire team, everyone who worked to pull this together. Athenia, I really appreciate it. My name is Elliot Carlyle, as she said, better known to many as the brand, the voice, and we'll talk about that as we get into today's conversation. conversation, but I am a creative director, consultant, influencer to some, strategist, and program developer in the New York City area. And I started my career as a college dropout. That most people don't know, but I did made a strong pivot in my life to pursue something that I knew nothing about professionally, and that was fashion. So I'm very honored to have had the career trajectory that I've had, to have served in a number of capacities. I call myself.
Elliot, we're losing you. I think when you move far away from the screen, we could barely hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. I was saying that I have worked, my trajectory has taken me to a number of different arenas in the industry, and I do call myself a multi-hyphenate just because of the fact that I've had such compound experiences when it comes to the profession that I'm in today as a creative director and consultant. And so I'm excited to delve into all of that with you today. And again, it's going to be a great time. So feel free to ask questions if they're allowed to, Athenia.
Yes, they are. Drop the questions in the chat. We will put them on the screen. We're also on Instagram. So if you have any questions on Instagram, please feel free to share and join us in that space as well. So we're going to jump right in, because you just started out with a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, wait, that wasn't in my notes. Like, I So I don't even know where to start from. Let's start with your upbringing. So talk about college dropout, like, you know, what happened, how and how we still ended up being in fashion.
Yeah, well, I was a show choir kid, so I grew up in music. Music was my life. I was the music director at my church. I play piano, I sing. I was trained in dance and theater. So when I graduated high school, because I was in music all my life, from elementary school to middle school to high school. So when I graduated, there was no question as to what I would do. It was music. I never thought about anything else. I never considered anything else. It was all that I had done. So why would I bring anything else into question? And the opportunities that were being offered to me scholarship wise was for music. So that's what I ended up doing. And I got a full music scholarship I'm from Florida, to Northwest Florida State College. And I accepted it, and fully paid, free school. And my second year, I decided that it was not what I wanted to do anymore. And I cannot tell you why. People ask me all this, to this day, they ask me, well, what happened? I don't know what happened, but you get to a place in your life where you feel this disconnect in energy, you feel this disconnect in passion. And although you may be good at something, and it may be something that you are just doing on autopilot because it's what you've always done and it's what people expect of you, then you just continue to do it until one day you realize there's something that's missing. There's something that I'm not connected with, and this is not anything I'm doing for me anymore. I seem to be doing this for other people. And at some point, you just get exhausted and you get to a place of burnout. And I feel like I got to that place, and I didn't know what I was going to do. It wasn't that something else interested me. I just knew that this was not it. And so I talked to my parents and I told them I need to take a break, and I did not want to go back. And so, they were supportive, and I took the time off to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And during that time, this was the MySpace days, I had connected with a lot of people in fashion on MySpace, and Fashion Week was coming up. So I was curious, and I said, well, let me come to New York and check it out and see what's up. And that's what happened. And of course, I did not get in. I thought that New York Fashion Week was like Broadway. You come and buy a ticket and you go to the show that you want to go to. I didn't know that it was this industry. I knew nothing. Yeah. So I, of course, was not given access to get into anything, but I was smart enough to talk to some people. I really believe the adage, closed mouths don't get fed. I really believe in that. And so I opened up my mouth to talk to some people and ask, how do I get in here? And I was given the advice to come back the next season and apply as a volunteer, so that you can get inside and see Fashion Week from the inside perspective, as a production team member. And so I did that, and I was accepted. And then I ended up, they had to fire somebody. They had to fire a production captain, and they ended up offering me the position. And so they said, well, we'll pay you and we'll train you. And I did that, and that's what opened up the door for me to really understand not just that this was something that I wanted to do, but that there was something, I saw a place for myself in it. It's oftentimes you can be interested in something, you can desire to be a part of something, but you don't see yourself in it. I immediately saw a place for myself in this business. And so I just went after that place.
So, you dropped some things. So, what want to start background? So, with the church, what type of church did you go to? And
wow, nobody asked that. Nobody ever asked that. I love
really
that.
Why?
I don't know. They just don't ask. But I grew up in the AME church.
Okay,
yeah,
AME.
I was a YPDer, and I actually used to be the Episcopal Director of Music for the 11th Episcopal District, the entire state of Florida, and the Bahamas.
Oh, come on!
Yeah,
now.
I was a YPD worship leader.
I was gonna say, when you said that you was a dancer and you was in the church, I just saw you at the organ just shouting. That was the vision that just came in.
Trust me, there's a lot of videos of me like that out there. But yeah.
Okay, so grew up in the AME church, and then and if I know anything about our Black churches, I grew up in a Pentecostal, so I grew up in Kojic.
Okay.
And so
the church of God.
Exactly. And I actually grew up in institutional. So institutional church, right? Okay. So that is the church of where a lot of the gospel headliners came out of, with Shirley Caesar, and
that's a whole nother conversation. We can go on a deep dive. I didn't know that.
Exactly. Hezekiah Walker, the whole like, I know all of them. Those are like, family.
That is amazing.
So when you said fashion and how it wasn't necessarily your direction, how much did your space in church? Because we all, I feel like we gotta have some tidbits in that world before we kind of figure out, like, this is what I wanted to do. So what can you say? And maybe it is from church, or maybe it isn't. But I'm just gleaming because I know how the mamas used to wear the hats. And we came to church dressed.
It's so funny that you say this. This is so good. Nobody ever, this is such a different type of conversation because people don't ask me these questions. Let me tell you that I, even being in business now and doing what I do in fashion, I had the privilege of producing the Fashion Icon series with Fern Malice at the 92nd Street Y when she interviewed Billy Porter. And one of the questions that she asked him, this was 2019, she asked him, where did your influence in fashion, or where did your inspiration in fashion come from? And he said, the church. The church was my very first fashion show. And he described, what it was like on Sunday morning, and the women coming down the aisle with their hats, and the men strolling, and, ushers marching, all of that. And recently, when she interviewed La Roche, in I think last month when she interviewed him, he expressed the same thing. For me, growing up in AME church, it was very different because the AME church is a very businessy structured. When you get into the upper echelons of ministry, you do see the business side of ministry. And so I was very involved in that side. So there was a lot of uniformity you had to wear, as a YPDer, we wore forest green and white on Fourth Sunday. If you were a missionary, you had royal blue and white. There was, if you were the Sons of Allen, you wore the maroon jackets. And so there was this uniformity. Being in the choir, we had robes, or we had, this Sunday we're wearing all white. This Sunday we're wearing black and gold. This Sunday, there was this Sunday we're wearing pastels, and so this was a dress code. Yes. So this sense of style and presentation, was there. And of course, growing up Black, you have your Sunday best clothes, and so that was something. And I always dressed. My dad, let me tell you, I had suits galore. I mean, I had 3-piece suits, I had zoot suits, I had double-breasted suits. I mean, when it came to suits, I had walking suits, I had every kind of suit you could think of. I had every color you can think of, every color shoe you could think of. I had the tie, the handkerchief, the cufflinks to match. I mean, that was my thing. And even when I got in high school,
did you have the socks? Did you?
I had the socks. I had Stacey Adams. When I tell you, I have Stacey Adams galore, and it was something that you don't really think about because it was the norm. It was just, this is what we do. This is a part of our culture. This is a part of our identity, and this is what we do as Black people. This is how we present. And then as you get older, and even in fashion and just the way that I dress now, and people still ask you, why are you always dressed up? And why are you always dressed up? And I'm like, I'm not dressed up. This is just the way that I dress. We take this pride in dressing. I remember, I won't call the name, but I was with an industry professional. I was traveling one day, one particular experience with them, and we were going out, and I was getting ready, and they came to figure out or wonder why I was not ready yet. They just threw on something, was headed out the door, and I was ironing my clothes. And they literally said to me, why are you such a primper? Why do you have to iron everything and do all that? Can't you just throw something on? I said, no, no, no. You have to also understand, I grew up in a military home. Both my parents are retired Air Force. So presentation mattered. You couldn't just go out with wrinkled clothes or this. I mean, there was just a way. My dad, I remember even when I got my first suit, my dad made me wear it at home and taught me how to sit in the suit, how to walk in the suit, how to stand in the suit, because a man has to be able to wear a suit. The suit doesn't wear you. You have to be able to wear the suit. And so I had to wear it, to a T before I could wear it out in public. So, presentation was always a thing in my home. And to this day, I will say, my family, we dress. We don't just come out any type of way. And the church was a big influence in that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I love that. I love that you shared about just the transition. And it looks like we even had somebody, I think it was Yvonne. She said, you're bringing back memories when church clothes was that and couldn't wear them nowhere else. Right. It was just church clothes. You better take them church clothes off and go put
and
on
I
your
started
street
breaking
clothes.
those rules. In high school, I started wanting to dress like, and I think this is when I was inspired that I knew I wanted to be a businessman, because even in school, I would wear my suits to school. I just wanted to present a particular way. And, I was the president of the Ethnic History Club. So when we would have events or meetings, I would always dress for that part. I was a leader. And so I knew how to show up. Growing up in the AME church, I learned Robert's Rules of Order when I was 12 years old. So I knew how to do a business meeting. I knew how to make a motion. I knew how to move. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was these things that I really was equipped with, that to this day I still pull from. People say, well, you can just get up and talk to anybody. You can get on any stage. You can get on any mic. And I'm like, but I learned that in church, honestly. And I would never discredit Mount Zion AME Church is where it all came from for me.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I mean, just being able to utilize that in so many different places, and there's so many connective. I'm like, so many connective tissues that you're talking about, because I'm like, yeah, I was that person too. I was going to school wearing my nice clothes, my shoes, and everything. People like, it's not Sunday, and I'm like, why is that the only day that we could dress up? So so I totally understand. But I love what you said about your father, just having you wear the clothes at home. Like, I don't think that happens enough. And just even talking about that in my own ideologies around celebrating our men. Because with the Juneteenth, we do our Black King celebration, where we have we honor 28 African American men based on the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and a lot of that is really focused on the fact that we don't highlight our men enough. Like, the men are and be the staples in our community, and because of enslavement and all of the disenfranchisement that has happened, we have put them to the back burner, but they are still leaders. And so I want to give them their flowers, and I want to put them back on their rightful place. And a lot of people is like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm a womanly woman. And it's like, yeah, but God, who did God bring on earth first? It wasn't us. God made the man first. And so I'm a firm believer in how we as a society or as a group will grow is by given that space. But so you sharing that and making that plain about your father and all that he put into you, and what we're not going to do is we're not going to go out in the streets and look crazy, and what we are going to do is we're going to know how to represent ourselves in the presence of others. But I know you wanted to jump in and share something.
Oh no, I was just going to say that it's very beautiful that you said that, and I really don't. People ask me all the time, how are you able to just be who you are? And I really do have to credit my parents on what they instilled in me and just what they demanded of me, even as an individual. When we even think about branding, my best friend says it this way, who's 20 years older than me. She always said that, Elliot, watching you do what you've done since, I've known you since you were 14 years old. You were building your brand before you knew you were building your brand. All of these things, the way you dress, the way that you speak, the way that you're passionate about people, the way that you bring people together, all of these things that make you were building your brand before you were aware of it. And I'm like, when I think of this freedom of individuality that I have to give credit to my parents for instilling that in me, and giving me the okay to be an individual, giving me the okay to understand that difference is to be celebrated, and you don't have to be like anybody else, and that no one else is you, and you don't have to be them, and it's okay. You can celebrate and respect and even love people where they are, even though they're different from you. And so that has, given me this mentality that I don't have to be afraid of difference, and I also don't have to fear that with myself, because I think oftentimes when we think about difference, we think of it in terms of other people, but even yourself embracing that you are different and being okay with your difference, it changes the trajectory and the dynamic of the life you live.
Come on, parents. Come on. Doing it one for the parents on that list. So thank you for sharing your story and that part with us, because I feel like that was just really important. And I'm glad that you led with that and we were able to kind of dive into that space. You did talk about New York Fashion Week and how it was kind of like something that really shaped you. Can you talk a little bit about what your perspective is for those who, because you have a lot of people who watch our show who are up and coming in the fashion world, and want to go into that space and don't really know how. So what kind of tidbits can you offer about that? And how did you feel like Fashion Week shaped you?
Oh, wow, that's such a loaded question. The exposure, fashion is a very exclusive industry, so just as you said, there's a lot of people who are interested. There's a lot of people who are aspire to be professionals in this industry. And it's like, how do I get in? New York Fashion Week was that point of, and is still in a different way, because the dynamic of it and the presentation of it has changed drastically from that time to now. But it is your front door to all of the industry, because it's not about just what you see on the runway. It's not just about the clothes, the designers, and the models. I think that sometimes from the outside looking in, all you think about fashion is designer or model. Even to this day, I travel. People stop me in the airport and, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm in fashion. Oh, what do you? Oh, you have your own clothing line? No, I'm not a designer. Oh, you're a model? No, I'm not a model. Oh, well, what do you do? And it's like the way people are like, what else is there? I'm like, there's a million other things. I mean, you can be an accountant, you can be a creative director, you can be a stylist, you can be an illustrator, you can be a pattern maker, you can be a movement choreographer. People don't even think about that. There are people that actually choreograph movements, work with models for posing and all of that. I mean, there's so many different positions and occupations in this industry. And so Fashion Week, you get to see all of that come together. But sometimes if you're just looking at it on a live stream, or watching a video, a YouTube replay, you don't really get to see all of these elements. And so actually being there, you get to see that all of these elements take place. And that's what inspired me. And I was actually inspired by what PR people did. I wanted to do PR. I didn't want to do anything that was front facing. I always loved the behind the scenes of the industry, and so it was public relations that inspired me. So for me, when it comes to telling people, well, how can you get in? I do say the first thing that you need to do, and this is something that I had to do, just like I was a master at music and I was an avid student of music. I knew that making this pivot, the same way I poured myself into music, I had to pour myself into fashion. So you have to learn the business. You have to learn the industry. I think that a lot of people approach fashion from a standpoint of style. And even when they discuss fashion, it's always from a standpoint of style, what celebrities are wearing and what's trending. But this is a business. Fashion is a business. And so learning the business, learning what's happening in the movement of the industry, learning what is happening with diversity, learning what's happening with manufacturing, learning what's happening with sustainability, learning what's happening with the laws that are governing society, even around DEI and all of that affects the industry as well. I mean, telling you, it's a lot. So once you really get involved in the conversation, and you have to read, like I tell people, I never read Vogue magazine or any of those magazines. I grew up with Ebony, Essence, and Jet in my house, so I never picked up any of those others, Elle and Harper's Bazaar and all these that I know about and read now until I got in the industry. But I needed to inform myself. Why? Because I'm in rooms with these figureheads. I don't know who these people are, and if I want to talk to them, I need to be able to engage in a conversation. And so I tell even my mentees all the time, you people will say, oh, I want to be in the rooms that you're in. I want to rub shoulders with the people that you rub shoulders with. Well, I want you to have access to those. And if I can be a door, I'm going to be a door. If I have a seat at the table, I'm going to give you a seat at the table. But remember, when you get in this room and when you sit at this table, there is a conversation that's happening and you need to be able to engage. So you need to learn the language.
Well, you open my eyes because I'm one of those people. I've never been to Fashion Week, and I'm like, oh, that's so heightened, and yeah, I mean, exclusivity. I know all about it because people be like, oh, I'm going, and I got tickets, and I'm like, I don't know, I never just had a desire for it. But you saying what you said about like, yeah, there are like that would make sense. I should know better. I'm an event planner. That there would make sense that there are people in all of these different facets in the outside world, that there will also be people in the inside world to be able to maneuver in that space as well. So
And
just open their mind.
become fashion show producers.
Yeah. I'm sure that so I mean, because that's what it, and honestly, I've been running into so many people that are like, oh, I'm an event planner, and I'm like, okay, well, what kind of events do you produce? And they're like, oh, I plan fashion shows, and I'm like, okay, well, what else? And they're like, that's it, and I'm like, oh, that's it, like I'm confused. So now that you say that, I can connect the dots for that now.
Yeah, and you know what that is. I this is something I often find when I'm helping people redo their resumes, which I mostly help all my friends in the industry do their resumes. But when people are redoing their resumes, I find it interesting that people often ignore what is called transferable skills, and people will literally X themselves out of something because of a title and not look at the description of a job, the description of a position, and realize that you have skills that can transfer into this language. It's a language barrier, and that's why I tell people it's important to learn the language, because again, once you do that, you're able to transition that. You know, if you can do a fashion show, you can do a baby shower. If you can do a baby shower, you can do a wedding. If you can do a wedding, you can do a gala. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really is the same thing, but people don't often look at themselves in that way, or they often fear the language. Often the language barrier often causes them to count themselves out of opportunity.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big component. I feel like all of the roles that I've ever hired in, I'm hiring from, are because of that thing. I feel like I was one of those people who grew up with skills in one area, and I'm like, I could do it. Just give me the opportunity. Like, just give me the chance, and I can show you how what I've learned in this area is relatable in this other area. So just knowing that and having that belief in yourself, that I babysit 3 or 4 kids in my house. I was the older sister. I have 3 siblings. Like, I could work at a daycare and take care of kids. Like, duh, like that makes sense. People don't, correlate those things. So I do want to share you. So you share some information about like a purpose-driven branding, and I wanted to understand a little bit more about what does that mean in the fashion industry.
If you look at, let's say, Diane von Furstenberg. I'll take her as an example, since she had a documentary that just came out, which if you haven't seen, I recommend that you all see that, especially for the women who are watching. She is a very, very, very extraordinary woman, very extraordinary story. But what she is about empowering women, if we just put that in a nutshell. So everything that you see from the brand is really to empower, to uplift, and to undergird women's voices, women's messages, women's stories, all about that. And I think that when you really understand effective branding, it's not just about a logo. It's not just about your particular tagline, or having a website, or having an Instagram, which I think that a lot of people think about. But branding is about a narrative. It's about a story. It's about a value. It's about a belief system. It's about an expectation that people can have from you, that every time they engage with you, they're going to leave knowing this, feeling this. And that is what I don't believe that a lot of people often take the time to sit and think about. And sometimes you don't have it right away. Sometimes it takes a moment for you to connect to it, or connect with it. But that is very important for longevity. You know what I'm saying? If you want to build something that's about hype and it just rides the wave of a moment, that does serve, and it can be effective for that moment, but it's going to die out eventually. If you take for instance, Juneteenth NYC. If you only did Juneteenth in June, you would have to do a lot of constant jump starting every time you got ready to activate. But the fact that you have put in programs and measures to carry the narrative, to carry the story, to carry the message that people can follow and engage with this platform, engage with this network, engage with this community, and feel like they're a part of a message, a belief system, a movement that is ongoing, that allows people to then be a part of this journey, because people do like to be a part of people's journeys. But if you are always starting and stopping, you look a little chaotic all over the place, and then you make it hard for people to invest their belief in you because you're not consistent. And so it's hard to be consistent if there's not a deep connection. And how do you build a deep connection? Implement a narrative, implement a value system, implement a belief system, and that way that will help you breathe throughout the year with whatever it is that you're doing.
Oh, you just hit home on so many things. One of the things that also resonated is, I think I was talking to my mentor and she was sharing with me. She was like, "How do you build your brand?" She's like, "If you think about it, Halloween. I think it's right around Halloween." And she was like, "When people go outside and they are Michelle Obama or Oprah and stuff like that, there are certain characteristics about them that that you can replicate and put on an outfit to look like them." Mm-hmm. So what are you doing so that you are that you can be replicated and somebody can say, "Oh, I'm dressing like Athenia Rodney," or "I'm dressing like Elliot." Like what is that? So that stuck with me so deeply. So I just wanted to connect that for those who are listening to.
It's funny that you said that, because in 2000, I believe it was 2016, 15 that I decided to just wear all black, and I did that for like 4 months. And because in fashion you wear all black all the time, especially coming out of the PR world, all the events, it's just part of the uniform. You're always wearing all black. Fashion week, you wear all black. So I had a huge black wardrobe, and I just liked it, and I liked the way that I could show up in black. And so I just said, you know what, to make things easier for me, I'm just gonna wear this all the time. This is gonna be my uniform. And then one day I was working on my website at the time, and I was redoing it, and I was having trouble figuring out this color scheme, and I remember getting irritated. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to do this. I'm gonna make it all black and white. And I really liked what I did. And I said, I wonder if I can do my Instagram like this too. So I deleted everything on my Instagram, and from that moment forward, I only posted in black and white. And so from 2014 until this year on my birthday, I only posted in black and white, and I just started posting in color again, only because I just said, I'm at a place, I'm not married to it. I can try something different. And so I just did it. And of course I still wear black, but I tell people I dress in black, but I live a very colorful life. But it became a movement. I didn't realize people were paying attention to it until I would get these random tags where people would dress in all black at an event, and they would tag me and say, "Oh, I'm channeling Elliot Carlyle today," or showing up in my Elliot Carlyle energy. And I'm like, oh, this is a thing to y'all. Like, this was very personal to me. I didn't anybody else, but I'm like, oh, this is good. Or when people want to put together all black look, like people will call me and ask, am I doing it right, or does this? I'm like, well, you can't mess it up. This is your individual expression. But I appreciate that you think of me enough in when you see black or wear black. I mean, it's amazing. People come to my apartment and they think my apartment is black and white. It's not. And so people are like, oh, I thought that your apartment
that was my next question.
It's not. It's not. I have some color.
And my color is red, so I know that is my color. So I will always have on some red, whether it be sneakers, a bracelet, some earrings, some lipstick. Like that is my thing. So I totally get where you're coming from. So just sharing that tidbit about that marketing and that branding. And you're so right. Like branding is people. I feel like people just focus on the I got to have my social media looking like this, or I got to be this. But it's like, if you're not consistent with whatever it is that you're doing, and you're not bringing that to, I did a live this morning, and I was just talking about how do you show up? Like, how do you show up in all of the spaces that you're in? When I was a child, I always brag about the fact that I was a different person everywhere I went. I was the good church girl in church, and I was, like you said, in the choir. I was doing all of that, having that done. When I went to school, I was the high GPA girl. When I went to the club, I was in the middle of the floor. When I was, in all these different spaces, I was all of these different individuals, and I was like, wow, I'm, per people in different spaces be like, really? No, Didi, I can't see her doing that. I can't really.
But you always showed up. That's the consistency. You always showed up. Even if you were doing that, you were always there, 100. And I think those are the things that people don't give themselves credit for. The fact that showing up is in being consistent in your showing up, your energy being the same all the time. There are times for me, I'm a very big extrovert. People know that, but I do have, just as much as I'm an extrovert, I'm 98% extrovert and I'm 98% introvert. So I can be just as inward as I can be outward. But a lot of people don't get access or to experience the inward side of me, because that's the opposite of my social side. But when I'm home, I can be very quiet. I can be in here all day, not talk to nobody. My friends can be over here. We can be working and doing our thing, and I don't have to say a word to anybody, because I'm just inward. I'm thinking, I'm downloading, and I like to create that way. I like to work in silence, and that's something that makes people very nervous, because nobody's used to me being quiet unless you get access to me in a more intimate way. But I have a quiet side too, but I'm 100 in my quiet side, just like I'm 100 in my loud talkative side.
So when I come, I'm there.
There we go.
So talking about this creativity and balancing creativity, how do you balance being creative in branding? So I know you talked about you having branding is usually kind of staying to one almost monolithic kind of portion of yourself. How do you infuse creativity in that?
Allowing yourself to evolve. Always be open to evolve. I always say that you have to leave room for the universe to deliver. You have to leave room for miracle moments, and that's just as sure as you are about something. For me, I've been 80 different versions of myself in my lifetime, but I've always remained true to being, the energy, the expression, the delivery that is Elliot. When it comes to working with me, you're going to get this particular experience. When it comes to, having me host at your event, you're going to get this particular experience. When it comes to having a meeting with me, you're going to get this particular experience. Now, as far as my style or presentation or just, my value systems or what I'm passionate about, that stuff changes, every given day. I mean, any given day, every month. I mean, it's always different, but I do know at the core what the foundations of Elliot Carlyle is and what that identity is. And I stay true to that. But the presentation can evolve at any time. So you can be as colorful and as creative with the presentation as you want. And I think that, for me, also giving myself, you use the word balance, giving myself space to do things outside of my industry. I'm not just fashion only. Like I try to, even develop relationships with people in different industries that I know nothing about, because I'm inspired. I want to go to the medical convention. I want to go to the dentist cocktail party. I want to go to the chemist link up. I want to, I like going to all these things, because it allows me to see what's going on. And I always feel like, because I'm in fashion, and fashion is the one thing that touches everybody, because we all wear clothes, no matter what arena I'm in, I always have something relevant to the conversation. A month ago, I went to a private dinner with a bank here in New York, and they had a dinner for their private clientele, those who have, from what I understand, $25 million are up in the bank. A finance arena. I don't know anything about that world like that, but I was happy to go, and guess what? Was able to talk to everybody in there, because everybody wanted to know what I was wearing, where I got it from, what I do in fashion, and of course they all started sharing their passions about fashion with me, and we were able to have that conversation all night long. But I also learned a lot, learning what they do, how they got into their business, whether it was, a heritage business or whether they built their wealth, from the ground up. But that was very inspiring, for me, and I left with some ideas on some things I can do. So I believe that always giving yourself room to explore, and also educating yourself beyond what your bailiwick is, educating yourself and giving your experiences outside of what your norm is. I always put myself in different environments.
I like that. Diversify your interest, and allow yourself to be seen in different spaces outside of your norm. And I love that. And just touching on that, can you talk a little bit, because you brought it up in a couple of different spaces, but we haven't kind of delved into the portion of inclusivity and how that plays into to fashion.
Yeah, it's so important. I think that when we think of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I always say that diversity is often pigeonholed to race, and people sometimes get upset when I say that, but it's bigger than that. It's more than that. That's just the front facing piece, and it's also because it's so front facing, it's the easiest piece to slap a band-aid on. For instance, if we're talking about models on the runway in respect to the work of Beth Ann Hardison and the Diversity Coalition, and that whole movement with making sure that models of color had presence on these high fashion runways, on our runways, period, and not just having their one or two token girls or boys, or as the industry term that we hear all the time, that models will tell you they've heard, oh, we already have someone so exotic, we already have our exotic person, that it's like, what? Did my internet go out? Okay, we're back.
All right. I don't know
Okay.
what just happened. That was a little weird.
Oh, maybe they don't like this conversation, but we like this conversation.
When we start talking about DEI, really?
That's it. Everything else was flowing. See what I'm saying? We got opposition in the airways, but definitely, it's easy to slap a band-aid or fix that particular piece. Oh, hey, Jermichael. It's easy to fix that particular piece, but when you really get into this work that I've been able to do, you go deep, you go behind the scenes. You're looking at who is in the room making these decisions. You're looking at, you're looking at the vendor. You're looking at the supply chain. There are people. Let's just say. I don't know, let's just take the Grammys, and we all see the show that goes on, but we could talk about, oh, well, they have this many black performers, or they had a black host this year, all the front facing stuff, but it's like, oh, well,
So
what
that's
about the lighting crew, and what about the caterers, and what about
yeah.
the set designers, and what about the red carpet people? It goes deeper than that, and I think that sometimes that's the fight that we have to do, those who are in these positions, and people don't really understand that it's not just as simple as, oh, you get somebody in a position who can speak up and they can just make change. This does not happen overnight. With all the work that I've been able to do, that I'm very proud of. People ask, well, what are you looking forward to see? I said, well, honestly, the change that I'm looking forward to seeing may not happen in my lifetime, and I'm okay with that. I have peace with that. But am I able to see a dent of an impact? Am I able to look at someone's story? I mean, I'm so proud of even some of the things that I've seen in jewelry, with being the first director of diversity and cultural inclusion for NYC Jewelry Week, and working with De Beers, and working with Couture, and working with First Dibs, and all the jewelry companies I work with during the pandemic to provide opportunity for Black and brown and often marginalized designers in the industry, and to see so many of them doing well now. I mean, they're doing amazing. They're having collaborations with Tiffany's. They're getting collaborations with celebrities, and be getting gigs as personal designers and traveling with them. That's the stuff that makes me happy. It's not necessarily a big industry shift and change that I'm seeing yet, but I'm able to see impact in the lives of these professionals and creatives, and I'm able to see them get advancement that would have taken them years to get if they didn't have an advocate or a pathway created for them to advance and to experience what it is to overcome, and to see themselves in these places. Because as I forgot who quoted it, but Beyonce made it famous in her Homecoming documentary, we can't be what we can't see. And so I am just very big about creating visibility, and I'm going to bring people who look like me into rooms. I'm going to bring people who look like me and give them seats at tables. It's just what I'm supposed to do, and I am inclusive for all. That's the thing about Black people. Honestly, we are naturally inclusive. We invite everybody to the cookout. We are not an exclusive people. We'll teach you the line. We'll teach. I say this. There's a quote by Myrna. Myrna. Oh, I can't think of her last name, but she's a big diversity. I can't think of her last name right now, but she said that uh, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. And I always say, but then equity is, in order for me to dance, I may have to change the music, and you need to be okay with that.
Hmm.
You know?
Okay, I'm soaking in I'm soaking in that relation to two things, because diversity and inclusion right now has definitely been. I mean, that's the world that we live in right now with everything. And we, as a nonprofit organization that focuses on that, it was greatly impacted, especially over the last year or so, with the taking. Changing the schools, the
Yeah,
colleges,
yeah,
and
yes.
taking the word DEI out of terminologies and not being able to use it, like all of those different spaces. And people, in my opinion, were not in enough of an uproar. Like when I heard that, I was like, "Are y'all kidding me? Like y'all talking about Trump winning?" I'm like, "No, this was like a big deal, and people were not fazed by it."
Yeah.
And I was like, because you don't know the impact of where that is. And then you have people sharing like, "Oh, well, I don't need DEI to get into schools or get into jobs and all that other stuff." And I'm like, "You sure?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you sure
Yeah.
that you don't?" So you mentioned something that I really, so how did you get at these tables? Like, how were you brought into the spaces how did you get in?
That's interesting. So with I will tell you, Athenia, my career has been being in the right space at the right time, or just showing up, being in spaces. So I'll tell you, with Jewelry Week, I met these ladies, Bella Naiman and JB Jones, who are the co-founders of New York City Jewelry Week, which is what started everything for me with jewelry. I had no clue about the jewelry industry at
I'm
all.
gonna say this is new information to me too, so I'm listening.
Oh, yeah. I was literally just a consumer. I knew nothing about jewelry from a professional side at all. But what happened is they had started Jewelry Week. This was 2018, and they wanted Fern. I was working with Fern Malice at the time, the creator of New York Fashion Week, which is why I moved to New York to work with her. And so she was a panelist for their press conference, and they wanted to come to the office and meet and talk to her. It made sense what they were building for the jewelry industry. This is the woman who spearheaded the centralized, modernized, and organized shows with the Council of Fashion Designers of America, and ran the head of Fashion Week, even with IMG Fashion, for 16 years. So let's definitely talk to her and get her expertise. And so they had come to the office, met, discussed the involvement. We went to their press conference. It was very nice, met some of the designers. And just in that process, they started following me on Instagram. And so I had gone, Jewelry Week was in November. In January, I had gone to Atlanta to speak for the Atlanta Fashion Showcase. And I did my book had come out at that time, and I did a book signing. And we went to brunch. That's what, because I always have this thing. I do brunch. I'm big on brunch. And we went to brunch the Sunday after the weekend was over. And I just invited everyone who came to the book sign, if y'all want to come meet us at this restaurant, we're going to do brunch. So they showed up. And I took this picture. I was sitting at the head of the table, and I took this picture of the table because it was just a beautiful picture to me of all the different people that were there. We had trans people, white people, gay people, straight people. I mean, it was a very beautiful conversation that was happening, and I didn't want to record the conversation, so I just said, I just want to take a picture of this moment. And I posted on my Instagram, and I said, this is what diversity is to me. It's not a checkbox, it's not an agenda, it's a way of life. That's all I said, not thinking anything of it. I find out later on, I get back to New York, that I was requested to have a meeting with these two because they were very inspired by what I said. Unbeknownst to me, they had seen that there was a problem in the jewelry industry, and there was a very small presence of people of color, and they did not like that. They were not comfortable with that. And so they were trying to figure out what they could do to solve this problem. And when they saw that, this is the story they told me. They are not even together at the time, but both of them saw it, and they DM'd the picture to each other and said, we need to talk to Elliot. And so they agreed to meet with me. I mean, they reached out, I agreed to meet with them. And at the time, I'll be honest, Athenia, I said, I can't do this. I don't know. I mean, I've never worked in jewelry. I don't know anything. And they said, but you know people. and we need somebody who knows people. And so I said, okay, well, let's have a meeting. Just call together some of your designers, professionals. Let's just have a meeting. I want to understand the landscape. I want to understand what's going on. And so we sat down and talked, and I met with, I think, 7 of their designers. Black, white. I mean, just a mix of people, because diversity in jewelry is definitely not just pigeonholed to race. I mean, you need.
Come on, God will make room for you. Come on, let him make room for you.
Yes, and so we talked about that. And one of the things that I heard Beth Ann Hardison say on a panel, she was talking about how one of the things that she gets frustrated with is people are always asking, well, where are the Black designers? We don't know where they are. We don't know where they are. We don't know who they are. Well, in fashion, most people can probably name at least one Black designer. Even if they're deceased, you can probably name somebody from, from Ann Lowe to Stephen Burrows or Virgil Abloh. I mean, you at Lee Kirby, one Black designer. But in jewelry, most people don't know one Black jewelry designer that they can name. There are hundreds that I know because of this program. So I said, let's call the program Here We Are. If they don't know where they are and they're looking for a solution, then the answer is Here We Are. If you're looking for us, here we are. And that's what that's the program that I built for jewelry. That was in 2019. So then 2020 happens. We have the murder of George Floyd, and the Black Lives Matter movement starts. So I'm sitting at home. I had just quit working with Fern. I was in a pivot stage, not knowing what I was going to do. We don't know what, I'm drawing unemployment. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Am I going to have to move back home? I don't know. And I start getting emails and phone calls. Oh, so-and-so from the Accessories Council wants to talk to you. So-and-so from this jewelry company wants to talk to you. So-and-so from this diamond company wants to talk to you. So-and-so. And I'm like, why they want to talk to? Literally, I'm like, why do these people want to talk to me? And I just agreed to meet, and we get on these Zooms. They're telling me, oh, we're trying to figure out what to do. We really want to be in support and Black Lives Matter. Can you help us with what to do with the Black community, the Black designers, this, and I'm having this conversation. And this is going on for a few weeks, Athenia, until one day I realized, wait a minute. Why are y'all asking me this? I'm caught up in just helping because I just wanted to be a help. And then I'm like, but why is everybody coming to me? And it wasn't until I had a meeting with a man by the name of Jim Clyburn. Jim works with a PR company called Battalion. And Jim said to me, Elliot, I don't think you realize what you've done. I don't think you realize that at this time, there is nothing else in the industry for us to look to. You are the only one that's ever created anything worldwide for the industry to look at. We don't have an example. So your program, Here We Are, that's why everybody's coming to you, because nothing else exists. And so people are coming to you to find out what you did, how you did it, what else can be done, what else can be expanded, how can we grow this? And that's when I realized, because I did not know. I did not know, but I was just solving a problem. For me, I just wanted to help.
Wow. Wow. That's really, when we talk about the crux of business and entrepreneurship, what is the problem and fixing that problem, and you being the solution and not even knowing how magnificent you being that solution to so many people's problems, or allowed you seats at the table that you weren't even looking to be at.
Well, I think because I built it, if I may be transparent with you, I built it constantly questioning myself every day.
Really?
Yes, because I'm only trusting that what God has given me, this is good enough. Honestly, because I'm having conversations, Athenia, with people who, went to this business school and have had this career and is making this amount of money and has these degrees and these certifications and all. And I'm just like, I just have my simple, I finally did go back to school. I started as a dropout. I did go back to school and get my degree, by the way. I went to the Art Institute of Charleston. I got my BFA in fashion marketing and retail management. But that's all I have is this simple bachelor's degree, for me. And I'm sitting with all of these executives and they're literally getting advice and wisdom from me. So I'm just trusting that, God, what you've given me is authentic enough and it's impactful enough and it's weighty enough to make a difference. And, I was really only rewarding myself based on the results that I would see happen in the lives of these designers. Because the truth of the matter is, I was not being paid for a lot of what I did. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I did it because I wanted to help. I really wanted to help.
That's the story we all live, the walk we walk,
Yeah.
as we're building the plane and flying in it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the story
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
we all walk.
Hmm.
So we are running down on time. This has been
Oh, I'm
such a
enjoying
fun conversation. I haven't even gotten to half the conversations I wanted to ask you. So maybe we're gonna invite you to come back again.
I would be honored. Anything you need, I promise you. I love this. So yes, I'm glad to come back.
This has been really amazing. I do want to ask two questions before we go. What advice would you give to someone who wants to use fashion or branding to empower their community?
Stay authentic. Don't become what you feel like the industry wants you to become. Whatever that passion is that inspires you to get started, stay connected to that. I tell people all the time that the power of sustainability is always remaining connected to your why. And I'm not saying sustainability in terms of environmentally friendly fabrics. I'm saying sustainability and longevity for you to sustain, because you're going to experience setbacks, you're going to experience upsets, but for you to have that bounce back power, always remain connected to your why, because that is your purpose. And what I do believe is that where there's purpose, there's always exchange. And so remain connected to your purpose, your why, and you'll be able to do it. And just start where you are, build where you are planted. I always say that. Don't feel like, oh, because I'm here, because I'm in, wherever Mississippi or wherever Alabama or nowhere Nevada, that you can't start. Fashion is everywhere. Everybody wears clothes. You know what I'm saying? So don't feel like you can't do it. And if you need to go somewhere to get educated, if you need to go somewhere to get energy, I tell people all the time, I invite people, come to New York and borrow some energy and then go back and channel it into what you're doing. You don't have to be here. You know what I mean?
That part, I love that. That stay authentic.
Yeah.
And then my last question to you is, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Oh, it reminds me that I'm here. And the power of being here, the power of presence. Juneteenth is a celebration of our presence, but individually, it's a celebration of my presence. And I think that oftentimes a lot of people navigate this world feeling invisible. And I believe that Juneteenth is a reminder that your visibility is matters, number one, but also it is relevant and you are seen, often ignored, but you are seen. And I think that that's the thing that that your platform and even what you're doing, it reminds people that, we're here and we are seen. The battle is we're fighting against being ignored, but you do see us.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. This was an amazing session. It looks like the community wants you to come back as well. So we're going to have to, when we go back screen, you have to tell us some dates so we can get you on the calendar for sure. This won my heart, and I learned so much being in this space and just learning about what you do. I mean, I learned a lot of different things. I have a whole list of notes here on the side that I'm sitting here taking while you talking, and I'm just like, oh,
thank you.
Industry, like, yeah, it makes sense. It definitely.
Well, I really believe as and I go all the way back to Mount Zion. I got this. Anytime you mount a platform, anytime you get a mic in your hand, you have to remember there are people in the audience, they're listening to you. Give them something for their time. Like that's just that. Don't ever leave, don't ever leave the people empty. It's just like going to church and you leave and, well, what was the message about, child? I don't know what they was in there talking about. I mean, that's terrible. You know what I'm saying? No, you want to leave. I left knowing that this is my season. This is my time. And yes, I can, because God's promises are yes and amen. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way that you want to leave. And so I always aim to do that anytime I'm on someone's platform, because again, you didn't have to ask me. So I do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my gift.
Most definitely. And you didn't have to say yes. So we always thank you for your time and being a presence to share to our community, and just talking, just seeing excellence. And I say excellence in so many forms, being a Black male, and being a mentor, being someone to look up to and to aspire towards, and being so open and transparent. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for all the work that you are doing. Thank you for allowing God to lead you and you operating in your purpose. I thank you for all of those things.
Thank you so much.
So we appreciate you so much, Elliot. Thank you again. And we look forward to having you back with us as soon as we possibly can. We'll definitely keep everyone posted.
And thank you to everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome. Do you have some information that you want to share? Are you doing any events or any activations that people might be able to see you or participate with?
You can sign up on the mailing list on my website, www.currentlyglobal.com. And I am actually one of my clients. We're starting a conversation series in 2025. We'll do the first one in January. It will be in New York, those of you in the New York area. And I am going to be producing that. Actually, we're going to do the first one December 10th. So you'll be able to see that information. Connect with me on social media, but definitely sign up for the mailing list. You'll get those updates. But I do, if you're interested in being involved in a series, or even maybe perhaps you want to do something live at Athenia, we can talk about that as well. But we will be doing industry conversations, from models, and we'll have artists and designers and all kinds of things that I want to do it monthly, so that people can stay up to date and engage, and also have an opportunity to network within the industry as well. So that will be coming heavily in 2025, but we're going to do a soft launch in December, on December 10th. So I will be putting that information out for you to be able to come, and it will be first come, first served. We can only probably have about 125 people in the space. So when it goes up, please do RSVP. It will be free, but I will make sure that you get that information.
Come on, giving back to the people. And look at your website in this black and white. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. It is. I'm telling you, I stick with it. I do.
I get it. Well, I love that. And yes, let's talk backstage and see what we could do to connect with with some of the people who we have, for sure.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much again. This was amazing. Like, this really warmed my heart. I hope you all were blessed in that. We talked about a lot of things, from how we show up to how we plant our feet. How do we get a seat at a table? Everything. I mean, fashion is not just fashion. It is a livelihood. It is a way that we live. And how do we utilize branding so that we are walking away in a space that is not just about a post or an idea, but how do we help someone else identify with who we are and what we were put on this earth to brand to be. Say all of that to say we are in the throes of starting to galvanize everyone for Juneteenth. We are opening up our Black Kings nomination. So if you know someone who is an amazing Black male that exemplifies one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, we would like for you to select them, to put their names in their hat so that we can say, yes, we want to honor you. We do a full out gala on June 12th in Brooklyn, New York, where we have a good time. We talk about each of the men and what they've done in this world, and we allow everyone to network. So it is an amazing network of C-suite individuals. It is definitely a room to be in. So if you know someone that would be great in that space, please let us know. We also are looking for vendors, and we have our first information session tonight at 7:00. So if you are interested in being a vendor for our Juneteenth event this year, we are looking for you. It is a selective opportunity. We do not take all vendors. So we definitely encourage you to come to the information session so that you can learn about what it is to be a vendor. We do have a high standard that we expect for our vendors, and with you being there and being present, what that looks like. We talked about fashion today. We talked about your branding and how you show up. So we are definitely going to be having conversations about that. We have a lot to offer this year in all of our connections. We will have a number of networking opportunities this year because that's a place where we feel like we fell short. This is not a pop-up event, and we want to be very clear. Our Juneteenth events are not a pop-up event. They are an opportunity for you to find ways to grow your business. And that means that we pour into you with information, with content, with opportunities like this, coming on this platform and sharing who you are and what you do. And the latter is the vending event. But we want you to build relationships so that you can build your business on the back end. And then lastly, I am a business coach. My goal is always to help people to transform their business, to systemize their business so that they can grow it, so that they can replicate themselves. Too many times, especially in the Black community, we're like, oh, they said it will open 9 to 5 and it's 11 o'clock and they're still not there. And a lot of that is because you are trying to be everything to everyone and you can't. So we encourage you to register, to sign up with us on that. And lastly, just follow us on all of our social media channels, Juneteenth NY, follow us on YouTube, and follow, because we want to continue to be in your airspace. Like Elliot said, it's not just about that one weekend of events. It is about an annual thing that we do to keep you engaged and to keep the conversation going. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Bye. Mm-hmm.